Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I didn't think I was going to do this video this early on in the month. When I'm filming this, it is mid-December. I think this is going up like the last week of December, but I am going on vacation soon, so I feel like I need to film this as soon as possible. I also don't think I'll be reading that much in the next few weeks since I'm gonna be going on vacation and I want to spend time with my family, so reading is not in the forefront of my mind. All of the books that I'll be mentioning in this video are 4.75 to 5-star reads. All of the great books that I read this year, I want to talk about them, I want to show them to you guys. And also I am doing top 20 of 2023. I know a lot of people are doing the top 23, but realistically speaking, if we end up going to the year of 2030 and I have to talk about 30 books that I really like in 2030, that's not going to happen. So I'm just gonna do top 20, and I'm doing this because I'll just be mentioning 10 notable mentions and then I will do top 10, and I feel like that works for me at least. And yeah, I'm gonna be starting this video because we're gonna talk about a lot of books, and I hope I don't talk too much about these books, so I won't be boring you guys out with this. In total, at least at this current point, I've read 145 books, and picking only 20 was really difficult. Let's just get on into it because this intro is taking such a long time. In 20th place, we have Mother of Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. When I rated this book, I rated this 4.5, but this should have been a 4.75 because of how much this book just made me feel absolutely fulfilled reading the whole trilogy. I know some people have mentioned that the whole trilogy was kind of hard to get into, especially the second book, but this book was just such a worth it ending to the whole trilogy because you get so many questions answered and everything just wrapped up really nicely. Obviously loved the world building, loved the pacing of this book, and just really enjoyed everything with the writing. If you guys don't know what this trilogy is about, you follow Tessana, who is a slave in this world, and Tessana finally has money to buy out her freedom, but something happens and she ends up killing her buyer, her master, her owner. Anyway, she runs off and goes to the orders to seek refuge, and she wants to join the orders. In this world, the orders, they're basically like the governing people of this whole world, and she wants to join them, but you have to join an apprenticeship to actually join the orders. And the only person available to teach her is a guy called Max, who absolutely hates the orders. There's a whole backstory about that, but they end up working together to fulfill their own goals, and it was just really fun to see the whole story come together. There are so many things about this book that I was just so surprised to find out. I had so much fun with this series, and I feel like a lot of people should actually read it. That is Mother of Death and Dawn. In 19th place, we have The Storied Life of A.J. Fery by Gabrielle Zevin. This is the recent read that I felt so good. It was an emotional book, but also I really liked seeing his story and also the stories of the people who surrounds him. It was so concise, but so good. This book is about A.J. Fery. He owns this bookstore in the small island of Alice Island. This year, he actually lost his wife. His wife passed away. His bookstore is not doing very well, and he owns this special edition that somehow gets stolen from his house. But one day he finds a baby in his bookstore, and he is told to take care of this kid. So he ends up adopting her, and you somehow see the changes in him because of this kid, and also because of the people living in this small island. There's also a subplot of romance in this, which is very beautiful to see. I just really like the story. I just felt like it was such a beautiful read, and it was so good. In 18th place, we have The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is also something like Mother of Death and Dawn, where I felt like a lot of the questions were answered, all of the scheming and all of the plotting was just answered in this book, so I really liked it. This is, by the way, the third book of the Folk of the Air trilogy. The first one is Cruel Prince, the second one is The Wicked King. The first two books I rated 4 stars, but this one was a 5-star read for me. I loved the writing as well, and I loved seeing Jude and Carden's relationship finally blossom in this book. It was a perfect ending in my opinion. Next, we have another last book of a series, and that's Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the part of the Natural series, and it's a YA mystery book following 5 teenagers who are recruited by the FBI to join this Naturals program because they're basically naturals at CSI investigation, such as profiling, reading emotions, detecting lies, all of that. And it was so fun to see everything finally answered in this book as well. You follow an overarching mystery plot with the whole series, but in each book there is this little subplot of mystery again, and it was so fun to see everything actually connect. That was why I loved Bad Blood so much. It was so riveting, and you are kept on your toes all the time, and it was so fast of a read that I just absolutely enjoyed this whole series. Really liked the love triangle romance too. It was amazing. And 16th place, we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I read this in the beginning of this year. Up until now, still remember the story because of how much I loved it. In this book, you follow a doctor who is the female main character, and on her way back from this wedding, her car broke down, and so she has to stay in this town, and the male main character who lived in this small town helps her through this whole shenanigan, and they end up sleeping together and somehow they become friends with benefits, but they both live in different worlds. The guy lives in a small town and the woman lives in the city as a doctor, and so they are both from different lives, and you kind of see how they struggle with it because they love each other and they want to be with each other, but it's so difficult. Also because there's an age gap in this. The female main character is 10 years older than the male main character, I believe, and you see so much of their worlds separately, but how they really want to combine their worlds together. I just resonated with the female main character so much. The things that she goes through, I feel like just is so similar to my life and her family dynamics, all of that. And this book is my first Abby Jimenez book, but this book solidified her as my favorite author because she is so good with writing. Her banter is amazing, and the chemistry the main characters had, beautiful. In 15th, we have Heartless by Elsie Silver. In general, I did enjoy all of the books in the Chestnut Spring series, and I did rate Flawless 5 stars. But if I have to pick just one book in the whole series, it has to be Heartless. Single dad, Cade, so good, and I really like the relationship Cade had with Willa. And what I really liked about this book was actually Luke. The addition of Cade's son was just a cherry on top in this whole series. I just love the relationship and the chemistry, and the way Cade grew out of his grumpy phase. I really enjoyed that. I just liked seeing their growth together as a family. It was such a lighthearted, fun little read, and I had so much fun. If you guys don't know, by the way, sorry that I keep forgetting to explain what these books are. Heartless follows Cade Eaton, who is a single dad in this small town cowboy ranch type of thing, and Willa is the best friend of the female main character in the first book, Flawless, is there to nanny Cade's kid, who's called Luke. This is also age gap. Cade is 13 years older than Willa. Stunning book, stunning series, love this to bits. In 13th place, 14th place? I'm losing count, but Kiss the Sky by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is a part of the Addicted series, but this is my favorite book of the Addicted series. This is the only book I gave 5 stars. I love Connor. I don't know if a lot of people like Connor, but I love Connor. His growth from who he is in the beginning of the book until the end, beautiful. Love the relationship, no miscommunication. I didn't get bored with the book at all. It was just so good. It was so good. I loved it. Kiss the Sky. Next, we have a book I didn't really expect. When I first rated this, it was a 4.5, but now I just keep thinking about this book and I really want to reread it. And I just feel like this book deserved to be a 5-star read, and I completely regretted rating this 4.5, and that's Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Jack Smith has me on a chokehold. He's my favorite Ali Hazelwood male main character, and the way he can read Elsie so well and their relationship, his character, stunning, lovely book. I really liked it. In this book, you follow Elsie, who is a physicist, but behind the scenes, she's actually a part of this fake dating app. She pretends to be a girlfriend for people. There's a little bit of a fake dating trope, but not with the male main character. She's fake dating the male main character's brother, but in her day job she wants to become a physicist, and she's applying to this science research lab, I think, and apparently the people who are going to recruit her, one of them is Jack Smith, who is the brother of the guy she's fake dating. Very funny relationship chart overall. The way she is and the way she thinks, I feel like a lot of people are like her, and I like the way this book portrayed her character, so I had so much fun with this book, and I feel like this deserves to be a top read because of how good the relationship was, the chemistry was, it was amazing. And this book didn't make me feel bored at all. With the science jargon, it was actually really fun reading about it. So yeah, I had so much fun with this book. And 12th place, we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. This was a January read and I had so much fun with this book. I just really liked Gus as a character. He was so sweet and so charming, and I really liked the way January and Gus got together. It was just really lovely. And Gus is my favorite Emily Henry main character. And I more so really like the way January went through her grief in this book. So this was such a beautiful book. In this book, you follow January and Augustus. They both are writers, but in January's perspective, she is getting into a little bit of a writing slump. So she runs to this beach house that was owned by her dad. However, her neighbor apparently is a guy called Augustus, who she actually knew from back then. They were high school enemies, I think. Augustus is also a writer, but they both write different genres. Augustus writes general fiction and January writes romance. Correct. Okay. And they somehow get together and they made a pact that they're going to work on each other's genres. So Augustus is gonna write romance and January is gonna write general fiction. It was a very well annotated book and I had so much fun with this read. And the 11th book that we have is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book of the Last Hours trilogy. This book is my favorite out of the whole trilogy. I just really like the romance in this. The one-sided love you get in this book was just frustrating, but also so good. You get so obsessed with their relationship because of that. Things that they go through was just so beautiful. Look at how crazy the annotations are for this book. That is amazing. But not so with just the main characters. You also fall in love with the side characters, and there's so many romances going on with the side characters that I really like. If you guys don't know, Cassandra Clare writes a lot about the Shadowhunters world, and this is a part of that world. And this book, you follow Cordelia and Jamie. The reason why I really love this book too is because Will Herondale appears in this book. And if you guys don't know, Will Herondale is the main character of the Infernal Devices, and that trilogy is my favorite trilogy out of the Shadowhunters world. Frustrating read, but I just loved how the trilogy went on, and it was so good. We're now on to our top 10 of 2023, and in 10th place we have Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This was a recent read. I've mentioned this a few times, but I'm gonna say it again. This book was so good because of the individual healing that they both went through without each other. They were catalysts to each other's healing process, but they healed on their own, and I really liked seeing that. If you guys don't know the story, this is about Julian and Dahlia, and Julian is, I think, a real estate agent, but also I might be wrong, or maybe a flipper, you know, they flip houses, but he plays with real estate and lands and houses, and Dahlia is an interior designer. Dahlia just went through a breakup. She goes back to her small town and ends up meeting Julian again. Julian and Dahlia had a past together, so it's semi-second chance romance, but their families are actually really good friends, so they end up having to work with each other. Julian wants to get Dahlia out of this breakup rut that she went on because of her toxic relationship, and Julian up until now still goes through a lot of grief from his dad's death. I love the relationship they had. I love the family backgrounds. A lot of the emotional things that happened in this book, I felt like were more related to their families. The romance was amazing. The spice was just beautiful in this. I absolutely love this so much. 9th place we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Not gonna be a big surprise to anybody because this book was just beautiful and stunning. Clementine's grief was amazing. I feel like a lot of the things that I liked in some of these books are about the characters going through grief, but I feel like when you do such a good job with characters going through grief, you get so much emotions. And what I like a lot in books is that I want to feel something. I want to feel something when I read something, and so this book made me feel. This book made me feel a lot with Clementine, but also with the male main character, the things that he goes through, the career goals that he has, and the way that he wants to reach his career. It was all very realistic, and I felt like it resonated with me a lot, and so that's why I had so much fun with this read. If you guys don't know what this is about, you follow Clementine, who recently lost her aunt. She's actually really close with her aunt, and her aunt owns this magical apartment in New York, and she basically has ownership of that apartment now. She has heard stories from her aunt about this apartment. This apartment can go 7 years in the past, and one day when she moves into the apartment, she realizes that she's actually 7 years back in the past when she finds a guy living in her apartment. The way they go through the magical realism aspect of this book was really beautiful. Worth the read 100%. Next book I didn't expect to also be including it in this top 20, but it is Babble by R.F. Kuang, and this is a recent read. A book that I was so intimidated to read, and I didn't really want to read it until I felt like I was forced to read it. This ended up being such riveting, emotional read. Look at my annotations. A lot of the topics introduced in this book was very interesting because maybe for me, I am trilingual, I have problems with language, and just seeing a lot of the characters go through that I love. Sorry about the position change. My camera died because I think it was overheating, but let us continue on talking about my top books of 2023. If you guys don't know what Babble is about, Babble follows Robin Smith, who has recently been orphaned. He is half Cantonese and half British, and he has been adopted by a British man and brought over to London, Oxford. He has trained his whole life in translation and language in order to join Babble, which is a part of Oxford University, prestigious Royal Institute of Translation. Follow his story as he goes through his life in Babble. What I really liked about this book was just seeing Robin Smith's thoughts change throughout his life in Babble and the friend group he makes in the school and the things that he goes through. It was all very eye-opening, and I felt like I've never read a literature book like this before. It also has a little bit of historical fiction in it, especially when it comes to colonialism and the racism and sexism that the people go through in that time. It was all very interesting to read about. The amount of emotions, once again, that really went through me when I was reading this book. I do recommend, if you guys have Babble in your TBR and you are very scared of getting into it, just give it a chance. It's really not that hard of a read, and you will have have fun with it. I promise you, not have fun. You feel like it's a very insightful book for sure. In top 7 we have Daisy Hates the Great Undoing by Jessa Hastings. I do love the whole Magnolia Parks universe, but this book was what solidified the whole series as my favorite. You do enjoy the drama of rich people in this world, but in this one it wasn't just the drama of rich people, but it was just the relationships that the characters go through in this, their romance, and the change you see in Julian Hayes in this book was really stunning. And also the relationship between Daisy and Christian in this was also really lovely to see. Very dramatic, it was very toxic, and I also just really liked the writing. The writing was what really solidified my love for this whole universe. Jessa Hastings is a poet. For sure. In 6th place, we have Sorcery of Florence by Margaret Rogerson. This is a fantasy standalone, and I've talked about this book a few times. In this story, you follow Elizabeth Rivener. She works in a magical library, but she grew up in this magical library. And in this library, there are these things called grimoires. They're basically magical books, and they range from class 1 to class 8, class 8 being really dangerous. One day, in her library, a class 8 grimoire explodes into monsters of ink. They're very dangerous when they explode, and so the monster ends up murdering a professor of hers, and she gets accused for the murder. So she finds refuge in a sorcerer called Nathaniel Thorne, and they work together to figure out why this grimoire exploded into monsters of ink and why these things are happening to most of the magical libraries in her world. I loved the character growth that you see in this, and there's one character in this you absolutely fall in love with, and Nathaniel Thorne. He is that type of dry humor guy that has a lot of love for the people who surrounds him, and I just loved seeing that. There isn't that much romance in this. There is romance, but it's not the main point of the whole plot. But the character growth, writing, beautiful. You get so much in just 500 pages, and it's a standalone, so you don't have to read any more books in the series because it's not a series, and you just get so much. You get so much in such a short book, and I loved it. 5th place, we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This book, the way Kai has me on a chokehold, I don't even know what to say. He is one of my favorite main male characters that I've read this year for sure. If you guys don't know what this is about, this is a cross of the Hunger Games with the Red Queen. In this world, you follow the ordinaries and the elites. The elites have magical powers and the ordinaries do not have them. There was this plague that went on the country, and some people survived, and those who survived became the elites, but there are also some people who survived who didn't get any magical powers, and they're called the ordinaries. 3 decades ago, the king orders the execution of all the ordinaries, so Peyton pretends to be an elite, but it's actually an ordinary. One day something happens, Kai and Peyton meet, and they end up joining a competition. What is it called? It's called the Purging Trials, and they fight not to their death, although deaths do occur, but there will be one reigning supreme power of the whole game. Kai is the son of the king, so he basically has to win the game. This was basically forbidden romance, and you see them get together, fall in love, and all of that, knowing that they're not supposed to be with each other because Peyton is an ordinary. The romance was beautiful, and I really like seeing all of the other characters in this book. This is annotated as well. I just love this. And people might say that this is just like a very basic book, but the way this book made me giggle and smile and laugh, truly phenomenal. 4th place, we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is another Carissa Broadbent book that entered my top 2023 reads. This book follows Oriah, who is the adopted daughter of the vampire king Vincent. She has to join this deadly competition that happens every 100 years or something, and the victor will be granted a wish from the goddess of death. The trial is called the Kajari, and yeah, goddess of death, I'm correct. And then in this competition, she ends up meeting Rain, who becomes her unlikely ally. And what I really like about this book was, first of all, this is a battle to the death, so everyone is going to die except for the winner. They somehow fall in love with each other, so it's a forbidden type of romance, and it's really beautiful. Really like the world building in this. It was so good, and you can really envision the world really well. Pacing was amazing, plot was amazing. I feel like she improved a lot with this writing compared to the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, so I love this so much. I read this on my Kindle, which is why this is not annotated, but if it was on the book, I would be annotating this the heck out of it. If you guys want a vampire fantasy story, amazing. This is also a completed duology. It is a part of a bigger series. 3rd place, we have Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I don't want to talk too much about this because I do have a dedicated reading blog about this, so I'm going to link it in the description box below. Follow Shannon and Johnny. Shannon is the new girl in his high school, and Johnny is the captain of the rugby team, I think, and one day Johnny's ball hits Shannon's head, and that's how how they kind of form a relationship. And Shannon comes from a very toxic household, so that is where the trigger warnings happen, so please read up trigger warnings. Made me cry a lot, made me really love them as a whole. The found family was really amazing in this. It is a part of another like big series, but Shannon and Johnny's story is just 2 books, Keeping 13 and Binding 13. So yeah, just really love this. Second place, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. I also have a dedicated reading vlog for this, so I'm going to link it down below. This book is my favorite Emily Henry book. Her writing has improved so much from this, to the point where I bought an exclusive Waterstones edition signed, okay, because I just loved her writing and I loved Happy Place. Harriet and Wynne I really resonated with as characters, and also the dynamic between their friend group of 6. It resembled a time in my life in the past, and so I really liked reading this because of how much I just felt for all of these characters. The Harriet and Wynne will always have my heart. They're meant to be, and I love their relationship together, and you get so many really lovely quotes in this too. So, and at last we have Empire of Storms by Sarah J Maas. I don't want to talk too much about the series. I talk about the series way too many times, but I'm only picking up the favorite book I have in the whole series, and that's Empire of Storms. But the whole series, stunning. You follow the same group of characters for 8 books, so you're definitely gonna fall in love with every single one of them. But I can't believe that I actually really like every single one of them. I love seeing their stories. I loved seeing the way they grew, and I love seeing all of the plot twists, all of the war scenes. Everything was just so interesting. The politics was also really fun. I love the series so much. It's probably my favorite fantasy series of all time. I really want to reread it. I really want to re-annotate the book again, and I love this book. I have a reading vlog of my tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. I'm gonna link that as well, and you guys have to see how much I cried reading this book. And yeah, that's it for my top reads of 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I have been filming for so long, so I am going to go now. I'll be taking a break from filming and uploading videos because it's the holiday season and I want to spend time with my friends and family. You'll get a video, I'm pretty sure, in the 2nd week of January, or if I can try my best, I will do it in the 1st week of January, but I promise a video in the 2nd week of January. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It'll mean a lot to me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.